to WorkYogi Diaries. I'm your host, Santosh Shiva. A quick introduction about myself. I am from Bangalore, India, but I live in Houston, Texas now. For the last 25 plus years, I've been working in the technology consulting as a sales professional. Please join me every week to hear stories about people finding self-expression through their work. So why this show? Because we spend a major part of our life at work of some kind. It's a journey. It's a journey of ups and downs, self-discovery, and finding one's groove over a period of time. Stories of everyday folks finding their groove through work is worth telling and listening to. And hopefully we can take back some inspiration to our own lives. My guest today is someone I know for the last 4 decades. That's right, we went to school together. He's probably only the one I can remember and that I know who followed his heart for the love of his craft. Back in the mid-80s and 90s in India, it was about survival. You got into engineering and medicine because it was a sure shot way to get into a middle-class life, because you got hired and you got a salary. But our guest today took a road less traveled. First, as a photographer, morphing into cinematography, working for some big names like Kamal Hasan, Ravi Chandran, Nagesh Kukunoor across Bollywood and South Indian cinema. And later, as a founder of Vault, a unique service that curates some of the most exotic fine liquor across the world. From cognacs to whiskeys to gin to tequilas to mezcals, just when Indians were ready for it. Today, Vault is a recognizable brand. We get to talk about how he got started. How did he choose photography of all professions during that time in India? What gives him the courage to take the road less traveled? The travails, the challenges, and the decision to go cold turkey and start one right in the middle of his 40s. Where does he derive this passion and this courage? What drives him? Let's welcome Keshav Prakash. Hey Keshav, welcome to WorkYogi Diaries.
Hey, good evening. It's 7 a.m. here in Goa where I'm sitting.
Wow.
Right. Yes, you'll see the light change as we hopefully finish.
Yeah,
But
that's
thank you.
nice. It's an
Thank you.
intercontinental call.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
congratulations, Santosh. Should I call you Santi, Santosh, Shiva? You have many names.
Santosh
Good.
is
We'll,
good.
we'll go with the flow. But really, congrats. And I think your run diaries, I subscribed. Every time I switch on the TV, you pop up. And now this. Great. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Keshav.
Mm.
So Keshav, you have a fascinating journey. I've known you since we are we've been together in school. Amongst all of us, you've had the most fascinating journey in your career. While all of us took, right? You had 2 big careers, one in photography and cinematography, and then the next one, which is in Vault. You took on a path. Well, all of us did engineering and medicine and all that regular stuff. You did stuff which was completely unprecedented. So we're going to spend time and talk about your journey. But before that, I'll hand it back to you and let you do a quick personal introduction, and then we'll jump in.
Great. Sure. So, as you know, we are Bangalore boys, right? We met at National English School, as it was known then. Now it's, of course, famously known as NPS. So we are all pass outs of NPS. Right now, sitting in Goa, married to Anjan, who is a biomimicry professional. So we moved from Mumbai. After 20 years in Mumbai, we just moved to Goa. Before that, we are from Bangalore. Both of us are from Bangalore. And, that's what it is. What else do you want to know?
That's it. That's good. That's good to know. Goa, lucky you.
Yes. It's really nice out here. Especially during these times, during this pandemic. it is also, I think, it's just serendipity. We've always had our hearts here. In fact, we had some land uh, we had bought 10 years ago, and we thought, why not? If not now, why not, right? Like similar to my career decision, this is a third big move. Is to say, come on, if there is internet, we will go and look. I'm having this conversation. I could be anywhere in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So let's start from the beginning,
I
right?
thought.
Like I said, while all of us went scampering behind the well defined templates, you took on a completely unprecedented route. So let's start with the first half of your career.
Um, I guess let me rewind a bit if you'd allow me. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Okay, my dad's side um, is all people. Is my dad and his brothers ran bars and restaurants mostly in Bangalore city. My grandfather was a manager of a coffee estate, is what I've been told. So he did have a semi kind of a British living because it is English owned estate in Chikmagalur, right? And so I guess that's where it is. I was always grown in a family of entrepreneurs. In Rajajinagar, I vividly remember we lived in a huge joint family, and my folks, my parents, did not really influence me to do any particular thing. Not even a nudge in the directionality of what you should be doing. I guess I was born. I mean, my dad, I think, had me as child rather late. So he himself, in his career, is running a hotel business, restaurant business. I guess he didn't want. I was too young to take on that. So I think he did not want me to do this. But I spent all my summer holidays in kitchen and writing bills of customers. So I grew up in an environment of F&B, I suppose so. But fascinatingly, my mom's side, all her brothers are photographers.
Mhm.
So there is booze and there is photography in the
So that
DNA,
explains it.
right? In the DNA, there is that. And naturally, I was exposed to photographers. And when I went to visit my mom at her place in her native, her brother's studio, photography studio, then they never forced me to say you have to study engineering, you have to get A plus, you got to get your 92% to get into MEI college, whatever madness we were all going through, right? And I'm like, dude, no. I used to see PUC students, pre-university that is, struggle to get their math and the points, and I'm like, that's not me. And then somehow I guess I really got lucky with my parents, who never said you got to do this, son, no matter what, you got to do this. So naturally took but I was nervous not to go to college. I had to go somewhere. So took up a diploma in electrical engineering, which you stand in line at this thing. It's like, what do you want, in a pharmacy or something. So I'm like, can I get mechanical? They said, no, mechanical sold out. What's next? He said civil or electrical. I said civil means the one with the brown things. No, not for me. I'm a t-shirt guy. So electrical, great. You're going to become an electrical engineering in your life. Stamp out. That's how we get admissions in India, right? And came back with electrical engineering to a college near my house. So I spend more time at home than in college, helping dad with the business, I suppose. So that started, didn't last long. Wanted to do photography, convinced my parents I had to do it. I had to do it abroad. At the same
And
time,
this was like from a time period perspective. So for people who are listening to this, like
yeah,
early 90s or late 80s.
I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s, right? And so I actually, a friend introduced me to a couple, an American Indian couple in Benson Town in Bangalore, right? Smita Shah and Clay Kelton. I owe a lot to them. And they took me under the wings, and they were brilliant documentary photographers and documentary filmmakers. And
So question.
yeah,
So how were you learning the trade? I mean, how were you learning photography? Was your uncle teaching you this, or you were like self-learning to shoot?
No, I think I didn't learn much from my uncle, but I did learn from hanging out at a friend's photo studio when we used to bunk college. So we used to go to his photo studio to chit chat because, when he had a customer, he used to take a passport picture and then come back and chit chat. And naturally, and then I had fascinated with the dark room, and I said, like, listen, ma, you have got to allow me in the dark room. And then fascinated with chemicals, bromide. At that time, it was all paper and negative, correct? And slowly, when he got the confidence to allow me to process the negative and do a print here and there, so this was happening a lot because we bunked college a lot, right? So, and couldn't go home right away. So you spend time catching up on masala dosas and coffees and chit chat and local politics and all that. So I think that was the hook. Real hook was spending time in my friend's photo studio in Majestic, day and night photo studio, right, run by my friend Suresh. Uh, that was the origins, and then parallelly, I guess I got hooked, and then I used to buy these magazines below the photo studio. Those guys who sold secondhand magazines, Popular Photography, American Photographer or something, I forget. And then buying books, Kodak book, The Joy of Photography, and so on, and deep dive into it, learning. And I actually then took up, I guess, part of sharing came in very early. So as I picked up photography, I went to Bal Bhavan, to teach photography for children. I picked up enough because of working with this couple, right? So I actually those were great days, Santi. I think I did that for 3 years. The Bal Bhavan, the one of the prettiest one in Cubbon Park in Bangalore, and they had all this, summer, camps. So we used to take kids, give them the small plastic cameras, give them the actual negative, and then made them shoot and put out an exhibition at the end of their, I think it was a 3 month summer program. So it started there. Then what else happened? Then I researched. I wanted to do better. I researched and said, okay, I got to move on. I got to study cinematography formally. There were all these legendary cinematographers we were going to follow. Vilmos Zsigmond, Laszlo Kovacs, and so on, all based out of USA. And and then ASC, which is the American Society of Cinematographers, is the Hall of Fame. Even today, it is a global Hall of Fame. And you are fascinated by these heroes within our world. And I'm like, I got to go spend time in there, right? Applied to FTI, which is the Film and Television Institute of India, did not get accepted because they said you do not have a physics or a science in pre-university. I'm like, I guess that is against serendipity. Thank you, FTI, for not accepting me. I went instead to Rockport, Maine, right?
Awesome.
Had to do a bank loan. It was tough times, study. Convinced my bank manager, who's like, what is cinematography? Like, why do you want a loan to study cinematography? You don't get a career in cinematography. Doctors, engineers, great. But not this. I had to convince him. There was one manager, lovely guy, and these are things people will help you in your career. You never know. Who said, listen, I'll come with you and we'll go to the head office. And somehow, anyway, long story short, I was on a plane via Kuwait to the cheapest flight to Rockport, Maine. Did this amazing year. It was summer in Maine. It was as beautiful as it can get. Huh? Started with cinematography, amazing program dedicated to visual arts. From there, I think I had to work. And during winters, I came to New York City, found odd jobs in films on sets. And it's an amazing city for freelancers. That's for anyone to start a career. Went back in the summer, found a job as an assistant, TA, as I call it, teaching assistant. So somehow, you know how we are, right? You jugaad your way into staying on in the US for as long as you can. And that's what happened. And I spent 3 years eventually ending up as managing the technical department of the entire campus. So it gave me good money, but more importantly, met hundreds of people every week. And during the winter break, I did a photography session because my heart still lies in still photography, right? I do very little of it now, but my heart lies there. That is what it is. So I guess, like I said, in my DNA there was photography, and still I love it. I love it. I still do that. Hmm?
Yeah, you use the word DNA, but I think really speaking,
Yeah.
we're talking about environmental influence.
Yes.
But I think what's fascinating is there are many people who grow up in business families, who have lived in environments like yours, but they've chosen a very safe path.
Mm.
Engineering, get a degree, get a job. But it seems like what I'm hearing is that you you got a passion for photography. You developed a passion for photography. You learned the trade. You research yourself, and you really put yourself behind getting a loan and coming to US. See,
Yeah.
that's an amazing testimonial of passion and willpower. You could have always said, "Hey, forget about all this. I'll go take a regular job, and when I have time, I'll do this as a
Absolutely.
hobby."
Yeah.
And so that I think for the viewers who are listening to this,
Mm.
is a great takeaway, right? That we keep talking about these cliches that you can get whatever you want if you work hard for it, but I think your story exemplifies that story in a sense that is real.
I guess it's pointed out. It's that's what you. It's well viewed from outside of me, and that's how you view me, and I tend to underplay that. But the fact is that I think now, if I reflect upon, and only because you asked, it is in my nature to go deep and excel in what I do. That is my first nature, is whatever it is. You're picking a restaurant, pick the best restaurant around in the given bandwidth, right? It could be as simple as that. And somehow, I don't know where that is from, and I'm happy it is, because that's made my life very, very interesting. Is you got to go, you pick deep. So because even when I was researching the institute, which institute in the US, this was pre-internet in India.
Mhm.
You had no information, but luckily there is a book, and that is US, of course. There is a book published on the best film universities of the United States, right? So I had to go to the bank to send money to this bookstore in the US, and write to them a letter so that they could ship this book to you, and that took about 2 months. Then had to research every page of that book to say which university will I attend. And then, of course, yeah, you follow your gut and you toss the book.
Yeah,
You toss the book,
beautiful.
and then I realized that there was this school in Rockport, Maine, and I had to go to the STD booth to those ticking counters to make calls to this thing and answer questions as to how do I apply and all that, send money to them. Yes, following your gut, and very often you don't know that, right? You don't know it's a gut feeling. I mean, it's not that hard thing that pinches you to say I have to go this route. It's a very subtle thing that allows you to just follow that, and that is, I think, the true inner gut feeling. And like I said, even at the point of repeating myself, it is that family influence, and I say this more to share with the viewers, is that family does matter. And then, of course, it's within you to break out of the shell and do what you really want to do. But if there is an environment of support, or in India, if there is lesser interference, into not making you those molds that of doctor, engineer, and so CA types, right? I think that is what I think helped me. Is
Yep.
that actually less interference. No one helped me in my career of photography from my family side. They just said, do what you feel like doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you also brought out another point, which a lot of people are listening to this is a takeaway, is the the tendency or the mindset to go deeper in a particular topic or a subject. Because, see, one of the things that we deal with in the educational system is treating everybody as same. And we put it again, the education system treats everybody as like a factory worker. Folks who do well in math, physics, and chemistry and biology are applauded. The liberal arts folks are taken kind of, okay, it's fine, you can't make a living. But you talk about something which is, it's not like you excelled at school per se, but when you took on something that you were passionate about, you went after it. Nothing was stopping you. Nobody had to put a stick behind you and say do it, and you created a universe of your own. So that's another fascinating takeaway for me, and I think people are listening to this, is very important. So moving on from your degree in in Maine, you came back to India, and you also moved into professional cinematography. You became a professional cinematographer, and then even got into cinema, including South Indian cinema and Bollywood. And for people who are watching, and Keshav is listed in IMDb. You can go Google him. There's a whole bunch of movies against his name. But hey, let's talk about that. How did that happen? Getting into movies, and um, let's get in that.
Well, you see, the typical journey of anyone going to US, especially from India, is to kind of find a job, stay there, and then flourish there, right? And most of it happened to be corporate jobs in manufacturing, service, whatever. But mine was a freelance industry. It remains a freelance industry. While I was fascinated with LA and New York and the filmmaking, I could not continue to stay there because of the whole visa issues and so on, because of the nature of the industry. Thus, I returned back here, and with full hope that Bangalore city, in my break of 3 years, 4 years, would on the cusp of becoming an IT city, would have enough work for me. So I returned here to find that nothing had changed. Right, the ad industry was very small, and I was smitten by advertising equally.
This was like in the mid '90s. What from a
Yeah,
time frame perspective?
yeah, dates I don't remember well,
That's
but
fine.
yes, I
Broadly.
think maybe 94 or something like that, 96. I don't know. And came back here and realized no, and that's when I met Anjan, who's my wife now, on a shoot, and she was also in the cusp of doing something better, and both of us got married and moved to Bombay immediately, right after marriage, to say, okay, that's where we got to find our film, which is the capital of films and advertising in India. So yeah, I immediately naturally pursued advertising cinematography, and I like that equally. Did that. Again, a journey that is very memorable, because you move into an apartment with just enough money just for survive the first 3 months, right? And then had to literally, make your career from zero, ground zero. That was 0 point for both of us. So and that made you stronger, right? Because you started with zero help or zero money, brand new city, and go in, break into it. But it's such a fascinating city, Bombay, Mumbai, as it's known now, is. And slowly got into it, got into advertising, and natural progression would be films. I've shot, I think I've done three features, four, lose count, and hundreds of ads. And yeah, and it was natural, Santi. It was natural for me to do both films, but my career has mostly been in advertising, cinematography. And Anjan also ran our own production house with a partner, Bud Roy Barreto, and we became good friends, Roy and me. We had a lovely partnership of many years working together as a director, cinematographer. Great times, and this led to a lot of travel, and then within India and locations outside of India. And filmmaking, I miss it. It's a different buzz when you walk into a set. You meet a brand new set of people who speak a common language of films, which is universally the same. What you do, a cinematographer, a gaffer, the director, the roles are defined. I'm not sure how many such industries in the world have defined roles, no matter who. A gaffer in Japan will function more or less like the gaffer in India to the gaffer in, like plumbing, I suppose. Right? So yeah, I mean, I think that led to films, and of course, both in the North and South Indian. I was a cinematographer for a Tamil movie called Virumandi, directed by Kamal Hasan. Loved that. That is probably my biggest film that I worked on. Um, right. So all over the place. Again, no 2 days that I wake up have been the same from from the point of my memory ever. That's how I like it. You wake up to a
So
brand
how
new
was it
day.
working with a big name like Kamal Hasan? That must have been a huge high for you.
It still is a high that I worked. I think he's one of the most fascinating guys I've ever met and interacted with, for more than a meal or a coffee. Right? Hugely talented, self-made. So self-made to me is my hero. Right? Again, off the block, not from the factory line. So his journey is again immense. You can sit with him and have conversation about anything under the sun, from the Vedas to astrophysics to whatever. You will have a conversation with you, and then somehow we've had that was great. I've also
So
yeah
question on that. How
yeah
did you land? How did he find you, or how did you find him? You were just beginning. You were a pretty new
yeah.
person from a professional perspective. He was a big star. So how did you find each other?
I guess it was because you see, in this industry, there is in cinematography even today, and I guess it is true for other parts of the world. Is there is the Guru Sishya Parampara. You go join another, cinematographer who's made it in life. You join him as an assistant and you tag along with that person for a couple of years till either he finds you a solid job, a break, or you get yourself a break and you tell him that, look, I've got this break and I'm going to take it. And that's how it happened. I used to assist another brilliant guy called Ravi Chandran, and Ravi K Chandran, and when we were shooting actually a film called Marudanayagan, which never finished, which is, I think, one of one of the greatest short episodes of films that I worked on. A brilliant story. I hope Mr. Hasan takes time off from his current political path to finish Marudanayagan. It is a great story. That's how I met him. So he saw me as an assistant, and when he wanted to do this, he called me over to his office and said, "I'm making a film. Will you do that for me?" And I'm
Wow.
saying, "My pleasure." Yes.
Of course.
Again, of course.
Of course.
But
I'll think about it, but let me check my calendar.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I'm good.
No, actually, I was so
Just
naive.
kidding.
I was so naive. He narrated a story, and I said, "Okay, nice story, sir," and I walked out. And he didn't formally say you are the cinematographer on the film, because I don't know the nuances and lingo. And when I came out and I told my friend, "Look, he called me and told a story." He said, "That means you're the cinematographer. You're made." So I'm like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." And then his office calls me and said, "Come, we got to discuss rates and contracts." I'm like, "Okay, hey, I'm shooting a Kamal movie." Yeah, it is
Awesome.
good. But I've equally enjoyed working with directors like Nagesh Kukunoor, or Siddharth Rai Kapoor on those Indian English films that I worked with. Great, Bootstrap, Matchbox, Rubber Band kind of films. Loved
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
loved it. I miss the
I
buzz.
remember
Yeah.
I remember Bollywood Calling.
Yes.
Nagesh Kukunoor's, and I see that on the IMDb you're listed as the photographer there. So he was another great filmmaker those days.
Again, hats off. He was in the US. Somehow, I don't know how he got connected to me. I think it is through friends or maybe a commercial here and there. And Nagesh drove down from wherever he was to Rockport, Maine, where I was studying, to meet me, and then offered me the job. And then we did Ricky in New York or New Jersey somewhere, and Bollywood Calling with the great Om Puri, the late Om Puri, started. My film career started with Bollywood Calling, right from the US, and then to Hyderabad to finish that. Yes.
Awesome.
And later on, another film with an American connection, The President is Coming, is a satire, a comedy, on the US president visiting India.
And while all this was happening, you were obviously enjoying the ride,
Yeah.
right? And it seems like the bet you placed on cinematography, photography was beginning to pay off. You're working with big names, and life was going on. Looks like it was in a trajectory for your career in cinema,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden, you decided to pivot.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's what we're going to head next.
Yeah,
So tell
sure.
us about that. Tell us about the
Yeah.
day where you're sitting. Was it like just watching the sunset and saying, "Huh, you know what? I got to follow another passion. I'm done with this one." Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Yeah. Reporting to sets for 15 years, kind of, was getting monotonous, right? Well, like I said, I don't want, any two of my days to be the same. I want to wake up to a different day. Again, very subtle. This crept in, and 15 years in the industry, working as an assistant, and then as a full blown cinematographer. And it wasn't that it ever got boring or anything like that. But that is a freelance industry where you got to go seek your next job. Yes, your phones at some point I stopped seeking, and phone calls did kept coming. And Anjan, who had her own production house then, also was at a point where she said, "Look, I've done 10 years of advertising films." There wasn't a single light bulb movement as such that I can recall, but because of our travels, we were exposed to international bars, restaurants, fascinated about wine. You go outside to Paris or Europe, and then this whole thing about spirits and wine cocktail intrigued me a bit, right? And then, of course, then whatever I do, I think I follow to the depth. Got interested in single malts, right? This is nothing. I think it is nothing to do with my dad's side of being in the liquor business. Personally, got interested in single malts, and realized India did not have many variety. The malls that I was following as a geek, award-winning Kilhoman, Springbank, they were not in India. What you got in India was a standard set available in duty-free, in most parts of the world. So, time, we had time as a thing. So start writing to guys to say, why are you not in India? I want a bottle of your thing. It won an award at this thing. Constant answers used to be like, listen, we can't be in India because of reasons A, B, and C. Complex country, most reason. We are too small, and or we don't know anyone in India, right? Answers to this was more frequent. I mean, answers like this was more frequent. And I'm like sitting in Anjan and said, look, this doesn't seem to be, when you walk into a boutique store, like Park Avenue liquor store in New York, that is the days, um, in even in the 70s and in the 80s and 90s. You were like in a candy store. So I used to come back with malls from these stores and then realize that I was in India, not a single store to walk into to even have a conversation. Right? And that's how it started. So started a little club called the Oak League, because I want to have conversations with people who love single malts.
Mhm.
That birthed in Mumbai about 7, 8 years ago, maybe something like that, and got a bunch of guys together. Say, let's meet once a month and let's enjoy a malt and talk about it, because I want to have conversations around. And no bars did that. So Oak League formed. I realized how many people are interested in single malts, and one day I said, listen, we've got to do something. And that's how Walt was birthed. Is that notion that we got to do something. And because my family is from liquor, like I said, this part of DNA helped me, because I was otherwise it's not something you enter in, but this is like natural to me. So went, met people. One of the best parts of the journey of the Vault was my travel before starting a company, a registered company called the Vault. Is to travel around the world in a suitcase. Did that for a year and a half in periods of 45 days, whatever, 60 days of travel. to understand. I said, if I am doing this, I got to be really good, because I'm taking the position as what you call it, a higher position, to say I am bringing these single malts into the world. And then we said, okay, why single malt? There's rums, there's also tequila. So traveled to Mexico, Oaxaca, understanding what the local culture is for fine spirits. That is again, storytelling repeatedly comes to me at the point of sharing, and sharing via stories, whether it was filmmaking or whether it is bottled tales, as I call it, right?
Beautiful.
Scotland, of course, many trips, studying, meeting distillers, understanding, meeting craft distillers because they had more access, they had more time. Guadalajara, and then what else? Guyana, Martinique, travel. And sat with locals, understood, and they said, look, there's something in India we're missing, and no one's doing it. So Anjan at that point supported, said, let's do it. Let's do something. So we came up with the name The Vault, which is the vault of your memories, your vault of your all those little things that make up your happy moments in life. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Vault got started.
Awesome.
Yes.
Beautiful. And so tell us, so I know you said this was a very gradual transition. Your career of 15 years in photography was
Mm-hmm.
doing well. And look, you said it in a passing, but
Yeah.
a lot of us have been doing the same thing for 25 years, different shades of what we do,
Yeah.
but you were doing something, you were doing well, and then boom, one day you decide that I want to move into another territory, completely unrelated,
Mm.
and you start again, you start researching again. So tell us what's going on with you at that point. Are you is there anything called fear? Do you deal with uncertainties? Do you feel like I don't know whether it's
Mm.
going to work out? All my friends are doing regular jobs. Why should I go through this? Do you go through that, or are you like, no, this is it. I'm going to be romancing the stone. What's
I,
going on? Tell us about that.
yeah, Santi. I think again, there's no pressure on me, um, really, from any side. So our micro universe was Anjan and me, correct? For some reason, we did not have kids, right? And that really made you as total. I wouldn't call it freedom. I don't think having kids is I don't want to get into that, but it's basically you wake up to live your day, correct, and you follow the path of what makes you feel happy, of what you want to do. And then when you have a little nudge from a partner like Anjan, it's like, go ahead, do it, because even she was of that nature, is to say that do what you want. So she went from advertising to biomimicry. That is a huge pivot into a science. She has never been a science student, she's been arts. And then I'm like, listen, I want to do something, enough of this, but let's make it a little interesting, let's make it a little more challenging, right? So leap of faith, no one to really answer to but you, mostly, and with the support of of a friend, right? And that's what I think made it say is enough. Let us do something interesting. It was nothing to do with career moves or boring. I still love photography and cinematography, right? But it was, I think, the pivot was I want to do something a little different and interesting, right? And this was fascinating to me, is to say that I'm going to have a complete reboot, a whole new restart, and do that. We did not have, I'll confess, I did not have a huge bank savings or something to say, let's try this as kind of in the passing. No, it was a serious commitment to do this. And I think it was Anjan who said, go ahead, do it. If not now, when? That's how
Wow.
it started.
That you also answered a question a lot of people are listening to this are wondering. Yeah, one day when I have saved up enough money, I'm going to do that thing that calls my name. But in your case, clearly Even when you started the photography, you had to go to the bank, stand
Yeah.
in line. It was not like somebody just gave you, hey, here's
No.
Sunny, here's money, go. That's amazing, and that's a great lesson for all of
Mm.
us who are listening to this. That if there's something that's calling your name, and there is no right time, you just got to take a plunge. And
Absolutely.
I think the lesson that we can take away from what you're saying is dig deep. It's not
Mhm.
shallow. You can't play shallow in the lifestyle that you've chosen.
Yes.
You can't play half-hearted. It has to be all in. But the rewards are obviously not financial, but happiness, satisfaction. You're loving your work, and then you've built a brand now with Walt.
Hmm.
So how did that happen? How did you build that brand? How did you get customers? Tell us about that. How did you attract people to actually come and pay money to do something exotic like what you're doing?
Yeah, that's been, I guess, an entrepreneurial journey. I'm still learning every day. I wake up to be a student because this is real test. It's out there, right? And suppose starting the vault, we had some believers who believed in what we did. Luckily, our careers of storytelling, careers of communicating, visual. If you look at our website, I'm sure you put it up somewhere on your screen, wolffindspirits.com, you will see it's like a storybook. It's unlike any other, like a website featuring spirits or liquor. It is a storybook. That's what we started Vault for, and that's what it stands for. I wanted to share my passion for fine spirits, starting with single malts, with like-minded others. Remember, it started with me wanting to have a conversation, so it started Oak League. So started that and said, hey, how many people might be out there? It was tough. Liquor industry anywhere in the world is tough. I took 2 years, starting and falling down, getting up, learning, meeting people. No one is out there to teach you. It's not out on the internet how to run a liquor business in India, where it's so regulated, every state. But it was not new to me. So did that, started with about 7 8 brands, and now today our business, we represent close to, I think, over 40 plus brands of craft spirits from around the world. But I think what drove me was the fact that we knew that you got to be a brand, and this is where our careers have really helped us. You don't go off and saying, I'm building a brand and this is how I build a brand. It's not a building you hire an architect to do, correct? It's a curveball, and you build a brand by doing things that you believe in doing. You set your ethos right. You set, what you want to share right. And when you, that is the structure. So uh, I think brands are built emotionally as much as we feel that dollars build brands. It's not. It is ethos and that emotional connect that builds brands, and it has to happen organically. We didn't have money to build, to put on marketing, and social media was all in its kind of naive stage. It's not what it is now, right? So it was built by me personally going and knocking on every bar and restaurant that I felt, the Vault portfolio could fit in Mumbai. It's a city that received us very very well, and took time to convince because we were craft. No one heard the name Kilhoman from Isla. Like, what is this? Can't even pronounce it, right? We only know the glens here and there, but took time, worked on it, chipped away, and when they tasted it, see, this is where knowing the domain helped me. Don't go in flat out. I mean, shallow, like the words you used. This is where knowing the domain helped me, and say you stay put, and the market will come up to you, the kind of, right. And so the owners of restaurant took about 2 to 3 years to respond to this brand new set of, this new set of brands that came into, suddenly flooded, and also to work on it every day to say what is next. Don't get comfortable. So I subscribe to newsletters. I subscribe to this. I spend time learning. I travel. I travel every year at least to 2 different festivals of spirits to meet people. I've been to New Orleans a couple of times for Tales of the Cocktail. Any good festival, I spend time and money to go, be there, to future cast. So that's what happened to us with gins, for example. Before gins became a phenomena in India, it was already trending in the world. So you catch that through conversations early on, right? And then when we brought it to the country before anyone could, this is the set of craft brands. So then we suddenly became, when gin boomed, we were the largest boutique house, a boutique house having the largest collection of gins in the country. So then everyone started calling us to say, hey, Walt, you have 16 brands of gins, whereas every other company has 2 or 3 brands. So this is what helped, is to kind of be ahead of the curve and enjoying it, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
So Walt is a result of organic, door to door, building menu card to menu card. And it took me about 3 to 4 years to do so. But we to this day remain nailed to our ethos of let's provide access and build culture of appreciation. And selling is a result of what you do. Sales is a result of what you do, and brand is a result of of everything else.
Yep. Fascinating, and that's really coming from the heart. The 101 on building a brand, sales. One question that comes to my mind when all this was going on, financials, right? This is, you're building it, money still not coming in,
Yeah.
but you're somehow, something is telling you this is going to work out, and maybe you're borrowing money or whatever to survive, or using your savings, whatever. The different people do different things.
Yeah.
So what was going on for you? How did you just keep going on? Was there something tugging at you and saying, hey, okay, I'm going to give myself time till this time.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, I'm going to quit? Or what was going on in your mind at that time?
No chance of quitting.
Once in, you're in.
No chance. Yeah. Um, well, you don't quit things you love, right? It could exist in some form or the other. It could, very honestly, like as an entrepreneur, that's not where you start off. But yeah, what you describe, I go through every day. Like after this call, I would probably be reaching out to a bunch of potential investors to say, hey, Walter's ready for the next level of journey. I'm looking for investment to take Walt as a national brand, not because I want to scale and increase my top line. I did not start Walt for say the top line. I don't believe in that. To me, it is the thing. Your heart line is what that matters to me. That's what I wake up to, right? To say that I see humongous opportunities in this country that's booming up. So much happening. There's so much happening in the world that this country is missing out on. I want to bring that and share that to fellow people, and with that is driving me. Yeah, financials never been strong in the sense that it has not been my forte. It's not. I'm not a finance guy. I'm not a kind of a business school pass out. I'm out and out sucker for emotions and sharing. So you follow that, Santi, and I guess this is where some amount of planning, to say that I am not planning my life financially to an extent where I'm going to hold a calculator every day and say, no, I will not take that path. And this is where having a great partner who's backing you on the risk, to say that we might lose everything we have, but so what? We, helps a lot. There have been points of doubt. Did I do something wrong? Because we took money from family and friends to start Volt. We are invested as a company. I have a bunch of investors to whom I'm responsible to, but I'm also responsible to my conscience, which says I give Volt 100% of my day. Correct. And that keeps me going. That keeps me going.
Yep.
Right. It's hard. Sometimes not everyone is so lucky in their entrepreneurial journeys. But um, I guess even our investors see that we do it with all sincerity, with consistency. Very important. You can be sincere, but if you're not consistent, and you're pivoting too much or you're doing different things, that's not going to help. Right. So we've been consistently doing what we love and showing up to work every day with the same passion. That has the backing of our investors. And hopefully, and there's so much to do, and I wake up to that excitement.
Awesome. Beautiful. You know, the name of the show is Work Yogi, and personify that.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
No, it's
No,
lovely.
it's beautiful because, look, Keshav, I think the
Mhm.
reality is that all of us spend a good majority of our time working. And that is what and I think the fact is you meet people, most of them are going to be saying, I'm waiting for Friday, or I'm not enjoying this, or I'm
Mm.
just doing this to pay bills. And then weekends are where you get to be yourself, and that also we know that doesn't happen always.
Yeah.
So it's important, your story is so important because it tells about being yourself at work,
Mm.
expressing your values, your passions through work, and still, making a living and still contributing society is so essential for all of us because that's where we're spending all our time. So, people who are listening to this, people who are starting their careers, I think this is a great lesson. No matter what path you take, I think one takeaway
Yeah.
definitely from your story is dig deep, stay in the game, and follow your gut.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that is, if I may say, I mean, if I have to reflect upon, I think that's what has really helped me is consistently digging deep, but not being narrow-minded, with blinders on, because your learning happens from several things. Like, look how advertising is helping me in my, marketing in my current career, how filmmaking is helping me anticipate issues, problems, because in filmmaking on a set, you're anticipating the next problem. You're really problem solving. The craft you've learned and you execute, you're really problem solving, right? So that helps. So I think travel, exposure, a little bit of a worldly view, and little things on, other things also really help you get going. But yeah, in a pure kind of a science of entrepreneur journey is to, I guess, Santi, I think even there is no shortcut. Your career, either be it running or your corporate career, there is no shortcut but to excel.
Yep, that's true. Absolutely. And you also talked about what's next. That was a question I was going to ask, but you already
Yeah.
mentioned what's next for Walt. That's
Yeah.
good. And for people who are listening to this, especially folks who are traveling from abroad into India, you're still in the customs free zone in airports these days, right?
I think, well, the airport's kind of been shut, and I don't know really what's happening. But yeah, do check our website. I think it's interesting. We did a festival called. It's kind of India's first consumer fine spirits festival, because I learned everything from festivals abroad. So we bought that. So an ecosystem. That's what we are building. We are not building a spirits business. I'm building an ecosystem for craft spirit makers to kind of meet consumers in India, because that's very niche. And future is, I think, still the country lacks acknowledged domain expert. There are problems to be solved, daily problems to be solved. There is the entire digital space available, to address a certain pain points, right? And that's what we are after, is to build the culture of appreciation, something I really love, of fine spirits, to a national level, right? That's what's in store.
Terrific. Keshav, we're kind of coming in to the end of our conversation, but it was such a fascinating story, and we really wish that Walt takes it to the next level. Your passion behind it, is already beginning to show. I was once talking to a senior executive in our IT industry, and he recognized your name, and so that's how much your brand is spreading. The good work is spreading. So um, I want to move on to the next part of our Converse show, which is
Yeah.
I have a rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you
Oh
some fun
boy.
questions. We'll
Sure.
just have some fun with it. All right. You ready for it?
Sure.
So, Keshav, I also know you mentioned it earlier on, and I also know you to be a someone who loves cooking. So, I have a question related to that.
Sure.
What's the favorite dish you like to cook?
Um, breakfast, and if it is something to do with eggs, we are. I say this even though we are very vegan at home, but yeah, simple. A nice egg dish. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Give me a name. Name of a dish. Which one?
Oh, I mean, it could be a nice omelette.
An
That's fine. It's
omelette.
not really a dish. Come on, we can't call that. Um, but that's to me a cup of coffee, and that if I make it really well, not emotional. If I make that really well, my day is set. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What is what is your personal favorite liquor?
Ah, tricky one here, but stays deeply rooted in single malts.
Okay. You don't want to name a brand because of your brand
No, no,
affiliations.
not really, not really. I think a part of this is to train yourself not to have a favorite. There ends your journey. Is to train yourself to say, I will not have a favorite. They could,
Yeah.
and I don't even have a comfort brand. I removed that from my mind. I chipped it up, throw it away. Do not have a comfort brand because it stops you from seeking and discovering a new fascinating thing. So no comfort brand, no. But as a category, it is single malt.
All right. All right. That's also some learning for all of us. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
uh, I don't know. I, I badly need one, and you've given me one today. Uh, uh, though I guess what sticks in my mind is what I earned in Maine during my studies and on film sets and everywhere is people who call me Little Buddha. I don't know why. I mean, my Anjan thinks that I scream a lot, but but it's to
Only she gets to see that part of you. That's reserved for her.
oh yeah.
But that makes sense. I can relate to that. I think Little Buddha suits you. You're very calm, quiet, very calm and grounded. So very apt. Whoever's named that.
Mm.
Next question: if a movie was ever made of you,
Mm.
what genre would it be, and who would you want to play your part, other than you? That is.
Oh man, that's a real tricky one. Um, genre would be genre would probably be more docudrama kind of a style. Although I love coming from films, I love kind of Martin Scorsese-ish. Casino is docudrama style, where it is you kind of almost there living it. It's not highly, but at the same time there is grandness and there is scale. I can't pick an author, frankly. I don't know. I don't know much of. You want me to name an actor to do that?
Name an actor, just like that. It's fun, man. It's no. Uh, who would like to play you?
Mm, let's pick Kamal Hasan, no?
All right, that's good,
Because we
man. It's your
named him.
choice. Your choice. Absolutely. He'll love your story anyway. Yours is a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Um, okay, tell us one of your weird quirks.
Whoa. I don't know. I mean, quirks could be. I don't know. Lead me. Give me a tip here. What could yours be? Let's put you in the thing, and then I will answer.
No, the quirks.
Yeah.
Um, one quirk I have is I look up a lot.
Oh, like that.
That's a quirk I have.
What am I thinking here? Yeah. I got to work on
You're
it.
you're you you have a quirky sense of humor.
Okay.
Maybe that.
Thanks. Thanks for answering my question. I do love. I miss it. I actually. I miss sitting with friends and having a good laugh. Being lost in my own entrepreneurial world and everything. But you could. I think I accept that of me, KK Santi. A different style of humor. Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Awesome. Hey, that was a great conversation. We are wrapping up here. Any last parting comments or wrap up comments from your side?
Yes, parting, very important. Um, enjoy your drinks responsibly. Yes, for sure. And again, you don't need. We have conversations about rum here and there occasionally, right? Is to be out there, discover, buy a nosing glass, a Glencairn glass, and nose your spirits. And do drink it, but do nose it. That's my world is currently is the sensory world. It's just fascinating. It's all here. It's not in the drinking, right? So next time you're having a drink, do take a moment to kind of nose it. Hmm? I think I'll leave your audience with that.
All right. Beautiful. Beautifully said. And
Yes.
hey, thanks a lot, Keshav. Loved and enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot in the process, and I'm sure people are listening to this are hopefully will take away a few things back into their lives. So thanks a lot for making time today. Have a fantastic day, and we shall stay in touch.
You too. Take care. Cheers, man.